Hi everyone, my name is Damien Lenane and I wear a few different hats. I wrote my first book, a crime novel titled Scarred, by hand while I was in prison, which is also where I taught myself to draw. And in 2021, I illustrated the book This Is Ear Hustle for Penguin Random House. I'm completing a PhD on the prison system full-time, and I also work part-time as the editor of Paper Chained, an art and writing magazine that goes out to over 10,000 people in custody in Australia. You can read the magazine for free at paperchained.com, chained C-H-A-I-N-E-D. And if you'd like to learn more about me, my second book, a memoir titled Raw, R-A-W, was released in November 2023. And hopefully you'll be able to hear more about that and other things I'm doing on an episode of Australian Book Lovers podcast in the not too distant future.
Once upon a time. Welcome to Australian Book Lovers, your destination for imagination.
A big warm welcome to everyone and an absolutely huge thank you for joining us for the second century of Australian Book Lovers podcast, because of course we are in episode 101 and our mission is still to bring fabulous Australian and Indigenous literature that spans a whole range of genres to book lovers around the globe, as well as fantastic resources and information for passionate authors looking to write their next bestseller. I'm Veronica Strachan, aka V.E. Patton, fantasy, memoir and picture book writer, voracious reader of many genres, and one of your co-founders and hosts, coming to you from Wurundjeri Woiwurrung country.
And I am Darren Kazuko, dystopian science fiction and horror author. Dystopian science fiction and horror author. I got all those three right, didn't I? Yeah. Avid reader and one of your co-hosts and co-founders of the Australian Book Lovers podcast, coming to you from a nice, balmy, sunny afternoon, or should I say a summer sunny afternoon in Ghana country. And look, at the time of recording, it was just a few days ago that we had the pleasure of recording episode 100, and I said I was wondering if that would become a cringe episode when I look back in time, because I think it was just 2 days later from the time of that recording, it whopped right up to 38 degrees. So yes. Definitely, as I predicted, just out of nowhere, summer comes through with two big rocky punches and is ready to take on the final round. But yes, episode 101. Here we go. 2024.
Indeed, here we go.
And the new run begins.
Yeah, and look, we're going to ease people into some new segments, but we're not going to give away all our old segments because there's some fun, we like to talk about books and reading and words and all of those kind of things. So keep your ear out over the next couple of episodes as we try and discard a few new things, including, stay tuned, we might even be able to, we're thinking only about visual recording. So let's see how we go, because that might mean that we'd have to get out of our scungy old gear that we just chat about and move into something a little bit more suitable.
Yeah, it means washing the Ugg boots and scrubbing off the thongs.
It's only from the top up, because it's on Zoom, it's only from the top up, so that's all right. Okay.
My webcam's in the wrong spot. No. And of course, episode 101, and I did mention it was a beautiful summer afternoon today at the time of recording, and that's quite fitting because later on this episode, we have a really super cool interview with Ned and Shane Heaton, and that is about their book, Say No to Plastic, which you may be familiar with from a episode earlier, or should I say late last year, with regards to the Children's Awards. Now, Say No to Plastic is also illustrated by Tamsin Barber, but more on that later. We've gone through the trivia of, those days in Australia when we're looking back in time, and, from 2000 onwards, I don't think it's that crash hot exciting. In fact, it probably just gets downright somewhat sombre. So I thought, moving forward, at least for the near future, I thought I'd just kick off with some interesting Australian trivia. Just, we can all learn a little bit more about our glorious country, and maybe it's something maybe it's something that you are quite interested to discover. What do you think?
Yep, give us some random trivia. And remember, people, this could be good for if you're doing trivia for, down at the pub or, over the table with friends and relatives. And I must admit, we did some trivia down the beach over the Christmas New Year break, and it was actually a bit of fun because we found some trivia that was Australian and British. So some of the British stuff was a bit, I don't remember that, but it was like pub stuff, and it was music stuff, and it was book stuff and movies. So it was a bit of fun.
I don't know how I'd go with British, unless it was maybe some trivia on the Goodies TV show. I could probably do a bit of that. But
yeah, some of it was like British bands, and I was like, oh, some of them I remember. But because we had people there from several generations, usually somebody knew it. So it was kind of, 80s, 90s, 70s, 80s and 90s. So that was like, 70s was definitely my era, but the others were like, I have no idea. The 90s? What, then you don't still listen to the good stuff from your childhood? But anyway, there you go. All right, anyway, tell us, what have you got?
Who needs to worry about British trivia when we can celebrate Australian trivia?
Indeed.
Look, for some of our listeners, this might be common knowledge. For other listeners, it might be just one of those fun little moments of time where you go, I never knew. And for any international listeners, which I know we do have many, then I hope this gives you a little bit more of a quirky insight into our very bizarre Australia here, all the way down under. So Australia, this one's pretty much a given, but at the same time, maybe not so commonly known. Australia is the only English-speaking country to have made voting compulsory in federal and state elections, and apparently that results in a voter turnout of nearly 95%. So yes, democratic? No, but whether that's a good thing, well, that by definition, no, you see. So, but maybe it says something about the laid-back nature of Australians, because if you didn't have to worry about a fine, how many people would actually vote? I think we might have like a 10% turnout. Nonetheless, when it comes to voting, the secret ballot box, which is considered one of the most prized symbols of democracy, which is ironic when compulsory defines or takes away the definition of democracy. Nonetheless, the secret ballot box as a prize symbol of democracy was pioneered in, I hate to say it, Victoria in 1856. So there we go. So already starting with the secrets. Yeah. now, between the towns of Oodia, I hope I pronounced that right, Oodia and Narina in Western Australia, that is where you'll find the world's longest straight stretch of railway. So approximately 478.4 kilometres in length. So not bad. We got the longest stretch of longest straight stretch of railway. This one I thought was interesting. Now, of course, this is doesn't represent each Australian, but as a general, the average Australian can expect to eat during his or her lifetime 17 beef cattle, 92 sheep, 406 loaves of bread, 165,000 eggs, 8 tonnes of fruit, half a tonne of cheese, and 10 tonnes of vegetables.
Yeah, except for me, which it costs because I'm a vegetarian.
That's right. And I was going to say, I have to dispute that because I'm trying to look at the...
That's an awful lot of meat.
Yeah, and I mean, I know...
Was that a statistic put out by the Department of Primary Industry?
I don't know, but I look, growing up, I know lunchtime for me was always a sandwich in my bag, school bag. To think that, to think that if I, when it comes to my time to say goodbye, I look back and I can see 17 whole cows that I've eaten and only 406 loaves of bread. That sounds a little bit out of whack. I would have thought I'd eaten a lot more bread. Anyway, I don't eat that much beef. But anyway, interesting. Yes. Let's jump to one of my favourite animals, wombats.
Yes.
I didn't know this, but I should have guessed because that's why I love wombats. Wombats have the largest brains of all marsupials. So there we go. Big kick and a win for the wombat.
Well, do they really? I thought that the echidna per body weight was the most, had the biggest brain. Or maybe they're just the smartest. Maybe they're smarter than wombats.
Well, it doesn't say per body weight. So, mathematically and biologically and physically speaking, a wombat's brain's going to be bigger than an echidna's anyway.
Yeah.
It doesn't say wombats are the smartest of all marsupials.
It just says that their brain's biggest. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Now, there was a good story about wombats, and I did mean to flick it to you. I think it was on the ABC. They've got some video of hairy-nosed wombats, but far north. I don't know whether it was in far north New South Wales or far south Queensland, but where they didn't think that there were many about. And I think they got down to a population of about 30, but now they're up to 300 or so. I think that's the story. But the cutest little hairy-nosed wombat, you know, coming out, not the big fat ones that we have down here in Victoria, but the little ones up there with the, you know, almost little square noses and that. It was very cute, sneaking out and having a look and then running back in. So, yeah. They were out and about. They are there.
Yeah. Well, they got a whole, like, what do you call it? Metropolis city built underneath the ground. So they've probably just been waiting for New South Wales to open up those COVID restrictions on the ground. Now they're finally pop up. Maybe it was Victoria with the restrictions, but I don't know. But you may be right when it comes to the echidna having the bigger brain in proportion, because as far as mammals go, the koala has the smallest brain in proportion to its body size, which would go to all the sleeping. But anyway, let's jump to snakes. There are more than 140 species of land snakes and 32 species of sea snakes in Australia. Now, 100 of those snakes in total are venomous, but only 12 of those 100 of venomous species can actually kill humans. So that's always a good thing. How about a little bit of chocolate?
Okay, give me chocolate
This one's
trivia,
always a good one. Very quickly, the oldest Australian chocolate bar. Can you guess what it is?
I'm going to say, is it like the Violet Crumble or something?
Oh, close, I guess. Kind of close. I think it was made... No, probably not close at all, but it could be close on the shelf.
Right.
I'll give you that. No, the oldest Australian chocolate bar is the, drumroll, Cherry Ripe, which was first created in 1924 by Australian confectioner McRobertson's. And of course, the recipe was later sold to Cadbury's. And I can still remember the really cheesy, romantic ads for Cherry Ripe in the 80s, I think. And that, as well as the, what was the coconut chocolate?
Bounties.
Bounty, there we go, yes. Lots of see-through white shirts and palm trees. And anyway, so what about stripping from chocolate bar to, I like this one, Australia's famous aeroplane jelly. Now, forgive me, listeners, if you know the jingle and it is now embedded in your brain. But aeroplane jelly was actually invented by Sydney tram driver Bert Appleroth. I like this part, who began making jelly crystals in his bathtub in 1927. Now, whether he was intentionally trying to go for a sweet in his bathtub or was just playing with chemicals, who knows? But I don't know how you just wake up one day and decide you want to start playing with crystals in your bathtub and then put your finger in it and go, tasty. So, but I don't know who knows how any of these things begin. Do you know the name of the caramello koala?
No. Kevin, is it, or something?
No, but I didn't realise it had a name until we were reading through some trivia. The official name for caramello koala is George.
Oh, George, the caramello koala, of course.
And I reckon I like Kevin better. But anyway, my last bit of trivia for our very wacky country called Australia, and once again, a bit Melbourne centred, but the serious stuff will come later. This is just light end stuff for Victoria. No, when Freddo frogs were invented, and once again they were invented at Robertson's Chocolate Factory, so the same people that brought us the Cherry Ripe.
Yep.
So it was a factory in Fitzroy of all places. So when the Freddo frogs were invented in Melbourne in 1930, apparently Australians went so crazy that people were jailed for stealing them at the time.
Oh, good Lord.
Now, I don't know if that's just a good marketing press, advertising campaign, or whether... I can't imagine people in Penthridge going, what are you in for? Yeah, Freddo frogs. It's like, oh, man.
No.
That's heavy, mate.
It is.
How long you in for? So there we go. I suppose stealing's always a crime, but at one point Freddo frogs were considered bounty enough to do time over. There we go. So some smart criminals there in Melbourne.
Okay.
And that's my little trivia section for our first of the 100 series, episode 101.
Beautiful. All right, and I will mention that I was out at the Old Pentridge on Friday night for dinner with some friends at the Brewdog Brewery. It was like, you had that warm day over in Adelaide. That was the warm day that we had in Melbourne, and it was the perfect sitting outside day, which was great, except they had very tall stools and not good for older ladies who were struggling with their hips. But anyway, that's okay. Let me share some words with you, because that both Darren and I love words, and I also love the fascination that words have, as you might remember from listening to episode 100. And if you haven't, get on back there and look at some of our back list. All right. From Otherworldly, I've got a few more to get through this book. There's not that many pages in that one, but yes, we're going to do a little bit more words. So, Smultronstale, which is a Swedish noun, and it's Smultronsta with little dots, LLE, and I don't know what the little dots are. I should remember. No, acute, grave, no, can't remember. But what it means is place of wild strawberries, a special place discovered, treasured, returned to for solace and relaxation, a personal idyll free from stress or sadness. And I think that is fantastic because the strawberries that I planted about 10 years ago are now wild all over my garden, and so I get bloody mountains of wild strawberries everywhere, which the chickens love, and I do pick from time to time. But there you go, Salmonstrale.
Maybe I was just listening to a conspiracy theory on some weird podcast the other day talking about the Beatles, and maybe it was the Beatles during their LSD days that they came up with the old. They did Strawberry Fields forever, didn't they?
They did. Yeah.
So there we go. But tell me, is there a difference in the wild strawberries to, I guess, farm? Is it? I mean, they're still a strawberry, aren't they? I don't eat them.
Mostly it's just size. It's they're tiny. They're only as big as your fingernails, really. They're not the. I mean, you can get. I have got some other strawberries growing that have been sort of kept a bit more separate in pots, and they grow the bigger, fatter ones. But these little ones just reseed themselves on runners, and you need a handful before you can have them. But I've put them on pavs and in muffins and things, and they're delicious. And as I say, if I don't eat them, the chooks do. So yeah,
there we go. Maybe it's time to give the cherry ripe a run for its money and do a strawberry ripe.
All right, that's Smultronstale, the Swedish noun. Okay, switching over to my Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows by John Koenig. 3 little short ones for you. Arroyo, which is from the Spanish arroyo. And arroyo is the wish that you could have enjoyed a dry run of your life, muddling through once quickly, then going back to do it all over again, this time for real. And, look, wouldn't that be handy sometimes if you had a dress rehearsal and that you could whiz on back and do it again?
Yeah, that's the first thing that came to mind was that I was saying this isn't a dress rehearsal. Yeah.
So that's ARROIA. So if you wanted to use that in one of your up-and-coming books.
Well, I guess, they say practice makes perfect. And if we can't practice when it comes to life, then it just goes to show there is no such thing as a perfect life.
Yeah, this is too true. And look, I do like it being messy, and, we love a bit of entropy in the world. Let's look at the next one. This is an adjective. It's Knellish, Knellish, so Knellish. And this is the adjective where you're afraid to relax your body and drift off to sleep because you can't help but notice how much it rhymes with death. Lying flat on your back, your hands clumped on your chest, trying to force yourself to let go of consciousness, knowing you'll almost certainly find your grip again, but unsure exactly how that happens. I think, okay, there you go. So that was not such a cheery one. But Knellish, being afraid to relax your body and drift off to sleep because you can't help but notice how much it rhymes.
That's interesting, yes. I'm not going to, I can neither confirm nor deny, of course, a time once when I accidentally had some funny tasting mushrooms and did find myself laying there for quite a long time when I was tired, but not being able to go to sleep because of that very reason. Also being acutely aware of being an animate biological organism that was bound by rules that would lead to ultimate demise. So yeah, that word even makes me feel scared a little bit. What's the next word, Veronica?
All right, let's move on. So this is angosis, ANGOSIS.
Well, I hope that's better than meaning than the last one.
Yeah. But it is, in fact, remember we're looking at obscure sorrows, but this is the malaise that results from having unlimited access to something, which only seems to drain away its value. A cheat code that ruins the game, a camera that holds a million random snapshots, or, this is the one that I like about it, having so much free time that all your goals dissolve in it. Have you ever had that where I've got a whole weekend and then you find that you just get nothing done? So you have angosis.
Well, I think that word is a pretty good description for a lot of today's society. When I say today's society, I just mean the very nature of how we consume media and art now. And I'm victim of it too. I mean, I've got a VHS player sitting right next to me, and when I'm working from home, and I'll go out to my library and pretend I'm in the old video store days, and I'll pick a title and I'll pop that title in, and then I'll watch it from all the way to the end, which is what you had to do. But if I sit down and to rest and put Netflix on, it's hard for me to watch anything because I'm more interested in just flicking through all the options. you see, and then if I do click on something, if it's not exactly perfect within 15 seconds, I feel like I'm missing out on something better.
Wow. You are every producer's nightmare. So my niece, who is a producer, I would say to her, well, we'll watch it for 10 minutes. And she'd say, what? Well, we may not have set the story up in 10 minutes. It's not too bad if you haven't caught me in the first 10 minutes. I'm moving on. Yeah. And I have frequently done that, much to her horror. But anyway,
she'll need to release it on VHS. And then you because that was it, especially you'd spend an hour in the video store, you pick the video, and that was it for your night's viewing. So even if it was bad, you'd watch it 2 or 3 times. Watch it.
That's exactly right. But there you go.
Yeah, so a very apt word, I think.
Very apt word. Yeah. Okay, now another little word thing that I'm going to do, but also is a little bit more about reading and writing, is to just dive into a little bit about some of the definitions and bits and pieces that I have found helpful in writing non-fiction books, because I do, get a few, and, we do a bit of practice, and quite often they've got writing prompts and bits and pieces in it. But anyway, this book is Writing Fantasy and Science Fiction, 2nd edition, by Lisa Tuttle. And she's from the publisher of the Writers and Artists Yearbook. So we're looking fantasy and science fiction because, hey, it's our show. We can start with the ones that we like. Sorry, romance and history authors, but watch this space. So the types of science fiction, and lots of science fiction novels, of course, have a variety of elements, and you can't necessarily sort of put them into the sub-classifications. And I think we might have looked at some of these before, but hey, let's start the year with what science fiction could be seen as. So we've got hard SF, which is, it takes its basis as established, carefully extrapolated scientific knowledge. So this is, hard sciences, physics, engineering, astronomy, all those kind of things. There's usually lots of emphasis on the hardware, spaceship, computers, weapons. Sometimes it goes into the future, but attempts to predict ways that scientific advances may change or improve our lives. And look, I do like to read a little bit of that. That's often, often they'll have a little bit of military with it, but I think, I've got the scientific background, it kind of works for me. Space opera. So things like Star Wars, of course, modelled on old-fashioned movie serials. It's colourful, fast-moving, melodramatic adventures, but of course they take place on spaceships and on alien planets and in the future, and there's an intergalactic empire and all those kind of things. So they're space opera, and so you've got Colin. Go on. What?
Can you call yourself a Star Wars fan, Veronica?
Yeah.
What's the very first words of the scroll?
Long ago in a galaxy far, far away.
It's not set in the future.
Yeah, so they say. Yeah, all right. I'll give you that one. Very smart. Colin Greenland's Take Back Plenty is a good example, as are the culture novels by Ian M. Banks and Lois McMaster's Bujold series about the Vor Empire, which I haven't read, but it's on my to-be-read list. Okay, then military SF. Do you like to read military SF?
No, I mean, obviously with a lot of space operas comes sometimes, depending on what the opera's about, it has military aspects, but I know it's a huge, hugely popular genre, and people that are into it are really into it.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And look, I like it as long as it doesn't get too heavy. Sometimes I'll skip some of the technical bits, but I do like some of the strategy stuff. I like a little bit of the politics. They're quoting here David Drake's Hammer Slammers, his Northworld series, books by David Feintuch and Elizabeth Moon. I have read Elizabeth Moon's series, her military stuff, which is about kind of space marines and that kind of thing, which is quite good. Now we've got cyberpunk. So this was coined in the 1980s, and it's an emerging strand of SF novels. So, you can tell this book is a little bit older. And it's seized on the ideas about virtual reality and the new information technology, the merging of machine and human, the development of artificial intelligence, which, as we know, is pretty much of a focus at the moment, and of course the changing political scene, which sees true power moving away from governments and towards transnational corporations. So there's a lot of stuff written by William Gibson. So I ploughed my way through the classic Neuromancer, which was like written in the 80s and was one of, inspired lots of imitators, and in fact is, said to be, the basis of the Matrix and that kind of thing, and lots of computer games. And look, it was really interesting. It was a tough read because and I had to stop about halfway through and go, I think I have a little bit of a rest for that, because it leapt all over the place, and it was a bit strange. But anyway, so I've read.
I love cyberpunk, but I think, as far as how close we are to living cyberpunk, realistically, obviously the AI plays a part in it, but as soon as we have hardware that will allow us to simply walk around, interact all day, every day, whether we're on the train, whatever, but also have access to VR with a touch of a button on our glasses or sunglasses or something, where we are living cyberpunk, because then suddenly we can have our reality, and then we're on the train, let's go boom to VR, where we have our AI assistant avatar, we can link up with other people. Just crazy. So it's crazy how something that was written in the 80s, kind of born in the 80s, where we're just a couple of steps from living in a cyberpunk world, which is kind of close. Exciting.
Yes, but we are not close to steampunk, even though it is a very popular genre. So, steampunk. I
was going to say, you haven't seen the kind of cars we've still got on the road here in Adelaide.
Oh, well.
It's like 2024. This is about as close to steampunk as you get. No, but
there you go. All right. So, steampunk is it's kind of the analogy, with cyberpunk, but it's not set in the future, but in an alternate past. So The Difference Engine by Bruce Sterling and William Gibson, same guy who wrote Neuromancer, postulates the invention of the computer in pre-Victorian times, and then imagines 19th century London on the verge of collapse. So, it's everything is still mechanical, even though it's computers and they're robots, but they all work on cogs and gears and wheels and those kind of things. So, people are still dressed in their stiff petticoats and top hats and all those kind of things. And it is a big genre for, cosplay, and lots of people get excited about dressing up in steampunk, which is good fun. And then you've got steampunk fantasy and steampunk thrillers and anyway, steampunk
it's a fascinating genre, especially from a literary perspective, at least, from when I'm looking at it, only because it seems to lend itself so much to a visual medium, with the artwork and the texture, and like you said, cosplay and fashion and stuff like that. So it has a very striking visual feel to it when it's capsulated in steampunk designs and stuff, and yet it's such a big literary world as well, which I haven't dipped my toes in too far. So
I quite like it. There's a couple of authors. Lindsay Barocca did a series, and actually The Antics of Evangeline, which our own Madeline Dest is steampunk as well. So you can find that on the Australian Book Club's website. All right, couple more to go. Alternate realities. These, of course, can be past, present, or future, and they're basically the many worlds. And the only physicist Richard Feynman once called the many worlds the only mystery in physics. So there you go. So these are stories set in several worlds. Philip K. Dick's The Man in the High Castle, which I think has been made into a series. Lost Futures, Sharia S. Ashfar carried out experiments which apparently debunked the many worlds theories in scientific circles, but basically science fiction writers said, we don't care if you've debunked it, we're going to keep writing it. So there you go. We have utopias and dystopias. So for utopias, authors try to imagine and describe the perfect state. And because perfection tends to lack drama, a straightforward utopia could be dull. Therefore, utopias in science fiction are usually represented as being under threat or set in contrast to a world that's much worse than our own, a dystopia. So there's a really strong tradition in science fiction of presenting a dystopian future as a result of some contemporary trend. So pollution or consumerism, religious fundamentalism. So I'm thinking kind of perfect for leading into our chat with Ned and Shane. But in this case, of course, carry to an horrendous extreme. Ursula Le Guin's Dispossessed, Woman on the Edge of Time by Marge Piercy, an egalitarian, sexually liberated future in contrast with the miserable daily life of a poor woman prisoner on our world. So there you go. And of course, in science fiction, you have thrillers, you have adventures, you have romance, all of those kind of things. But there you go. That's a little bit of a taste of the types of science fiction around.
Amazing. But it's interesting, or should I say, an interesting dichotomy between the sense of, or the concept of utopia and dystopia. And obviously I love dystopian, but dystopian by its very nature automatically lends to that premises of something having gone wrong, or some sort of survival, or something post-dramatic, or post-something event, apocalyptic event, whatever it might be. And yet, at the same time, if you take a story or of a utopia where everybody's happy and everybody's smiling, that in itself lends some sort of credence to something being wrong.
Yes.
Isn't that strange? even the utopia of a smiling person, you'd be like, hang on a second. No, that's not right.
That's not right.
So
you remember
utopia is dystopia, just in a different,
way. That's it. Because I remember in the Matrix, the delightful Hugo Weaving, who was playing Mr. Smith, one of the Smiths, saying that the machines made a perfect world for humans, and it wouldn't stick. Humans didn't like it. They couldn't cope with it. It had to be less than perfect before they would settle into their sort of, state as batteries. Sorry if I've spoiled that for anybody. Humans as batteries, but there you go. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. The other thing, a room full of happiness is a room full of mystery and intrigue.
Indeed. And of course, there is more and more stuff around climate fiction, or climate science fiction. Those dystopians have kind of, I guess, carving out their own cli-fi. Absolutely. Yeah. So climate fiction where the focus is on a future where we've either stuffed the planet or the planet's taken over from us, or we need to do things for the planet. So again, leading into our very special guest. So is it news first, or we go?
Yeah, we got to jump to the news. See how in practice we are. So, how about we jump into some news for episode 101 before we head to the really super fun call interview.
Excellent. All right, your time for the news, and
all
then
right,
me.
For the first time in 2024. Okay, just a couple of real quick little articles from myself for episode 101 news. The first is the Australian Book Industry Awards. Now, they are taking place on the 9th of May, obviously this year, 2024, being held in Melbourne, I believe at the Zinc Fed Square. So get ready to celebrate another year of exceptional talent and creativity in publishing at the Australian Book Industry Awards 2024. So they as I mentioned, they will be held in Melbourne at Zinc Fed Square, and that'll be on Thursday, the 9th of May. So a star-studded night, obviously celebrating significant achievements of the teams and individuals who obviously go to all that trouble to get the physical book into the hands of Australian readers, who, of course, we love so much. Now, nominations for the awards are open, and you can learn more about how you can nominate, how you can discover more, what's going on about the night, how you can get tickets, whatever you need to know is at abiawards.com.au. So that's ABI for Australian Book Industry, abiawards.com.au. Now, with a little bit of, I guess you could say, changes coming. There's going to be a lot of changes coming for so many of us in 2024, but there's also a little bit of change for Australia Reads. So a new chapter for Australia Reads. So Australia Reads has announced that it is retiring the annual Australian Reading Hour. Now, the program actually began in 2012, and since then it's engaged over 1 million Australians in reading, and has featured over 300 annual events, attracted mainstream media coverage around the joys and benefits of reading, and made tens of thousands of books available to young people at affordable prices. So pretty
it's been a great
monumental achievements.
Yeah. And
flat out.
Two of our most popular episodes are having the two episodes we did for Australia Reads, where our authors read a little excerpt from their book.
There you go. So it really is an institution already, even though it's only been going since 2012. But unfortunately or fortunately, depending on which way the future rolls, after more than a decade of celebrating Australian Reading Hour, Australia Reads has decided that it's time to take stock and evaluate the program's effectiveness in growing reading engagement in Australia. So basically, I'm reading that the decision was informed by feedback from the sector that a practical, unified and year-round approach would be beneficial advocating for reading in Australia. And that'll allow the industry-backed organisation to dedicate more time and resources to advocating for investment in reading at a national level, devising effective messages and campaigns to drive increased participation with reading in Australia, and providing research, resources and tools for the industry to actively promote reading to their audiences and communities. So the way I read that is, although the reading hour is coming to a conclusion after its run since 2012, it becomes more of a all the time project in a way that rather than focusing on one particular moment in time on the annual calendar, to make the importance of reading something that's kind of there every day. That's the way I take it.
Yeah.
So,
and really what it says to me is to read more Aussie books.
yeah, absolutely. Maybe
good.
we have to make an Australian Book Lovers reading 10 minutes, because obviously if we made it an hour, it'd turn into 20 hours if we were taking it to it.
Yes, because we were going to be really speedy, and here we
Yeah.
are, chatting away. All right, are you done with the news?
I'm done with the news.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to say to people that we have the 2024 ASA HQ Fiction Prize now open. Now, ASA is, of course, the Australian Society of Authors. They are the big advocates for authors and illustrators in Australia. And please get on their website and have a look. So many great resources. Get yourself a membership if you can. HQ is a publishing division of HarperCollins, and the biennial prize is offered for the best unpublished manuscript. The winner receives a publishing contract with HQ with a $10,000 advance against royalties. So nice, very nice. The runner-up gets $500 in a year's membership with the ASA. Again, nothing to sniff at. Submissions have been open since November, but they close on the 31st of January at 5 p.m. So get busy, people. The shortlist and winner will be announced May 2024. Now, it launched the writing careers of Sally Bothroyd, who wrote Brunswick Street Blues, and Aisha Inoon with Untethered, and they got sort of outstanding reviews, and that sort of got their writing career happening. The prize is for a novel, book-length work of commercial fiction not previously published. So, sadly, after just having said how fabulous science fiction was, non-fiction, erotica, fantasy, science fiction, young adult, children's horror, poetry or plays are not eligible for entry in this competition. There are other competitions, fear not, people. But this one is for commercial fiction. Manuscript between 70 and 140,000 words. You need a 500-word synopsis, and you need a 300-word biography. So go onto the ASA website, which is asauthors.org.au, and have a look at the key dates and the terms and conditions for the 2024 ASA HQ Fiction Prize. There you go. One other story to share with you, and this is from The Guardian, and please support The Guardian because they are, one of our most independent news sources. The best Australian children's books of 2023, trying to keep, on track for who we're chatting to later. But I just wanted to mention two of our, and I looked there, the other authors are fantastic because they are all Australian authors, but Gary Lonsborough and Sammy Bailey, who we've chatted to Gary twice. He's got two of his books out here, The Boy from the Mish and We Didn't Think It Through, which has hit the best Australian children's books 2023.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, which is fantastic. And Sammy Bailey, who of course was one of our Wilderness Society shortlisted, and she has her book here, Masters of Disguise, which is How We Came to Be, Creatures of Camouflage and Mimicry by Sammy Bailey, which is just fantastic. So she's got all the animals there, which is just wonderful. Clever creatures who adapt their appearance and use disguise and imitation to adapt to their surroundings. So the perfect book for any aspiring David Attenborough. So yeah, just wanted to mention that two of our authors are on the Best Australian Children's Books of 2023 by, put together by The Guardian, which is just fantastic. All right, Darren, it is time for the Readers Cafe. Let's jump into it and grab a cuppa.
I think so. Hopefully they still remember my face. And, well, actually, no, maybe that way I don't have to pay my tab. But I'll see you in there.
Okay.
And here we are, the first Readers Cafe for 2024, episode 101. Now, I have used my virtual cafe before. It's underwater, I'm in a beanbag, I hit the button. So I'm thinking maybe this time, I'm on a floating cafe with the glass floor. over the ocean. Yeah, so all the fish are peering up, wondering if they can have a sip of my coffee, and I'm looking down going, no, you're not allowed to have coffee, and they're a little bit angry, but their little gills are still flapping happily. So that's where I'm enjoying my coffee. What about you?
Good. Well, I'm going to stick with the beach theme, having spent some lovely days waiting at the beach, and I'm going to think that there's a cafe where it's on stilts to get your cuppa, but you can actually walk up to it like you can in like some of the resorts and pools. But you can walk up, grab your cuppa, and either sit back on the sand, or you can just go for a wander with your cup of tea in hand. And so perhaps I'm going to go an iced tea just in case I do drop it in the ocean.
Or you can come down to our Cabana Club here on the beach, where you can grab a Long Island iced tea and lay in your laid-back chair, or go for a walk on the beautiful beach and watch the sunset. But, that's one of the joys of being down here. So
yeah, well,
so
there
you
you
have to come down and enjoy
indeed.
the Cabana Bar at sunset. But nonetheless,
have you got some books for us?
We do. So this is going to be a pretty quick readers cafe for this episode, because we want to jump to the really cool interview. But we definitely have some books to spotlight, and a whole lot of books to spotlight. So we're going to spotlight a couple today, and with a whole lot more coming. First one I wanted to spotlight is for fantasy lovers, or fantasy genre lovers, and this book is called The Primal Heartbeat, and it is by Nadine Abrahams. And of course we're spotlighting all the new books that have been so generously listed on the Australian Book Lovers website. So The Primal Heartbeat by Nadine Abrahams. So, born into a world where humanity has been corrupted by evil, can one tribal girl fulfill a prophecy and defeat a dark goddess? Aki's peace is fragile. Trying to carve out an existence in a land torn by strife and famine, her destiny has made her the target of terrible creatures. And as her divine nemesis's power grows ever stronger, the young mage knows she must awaken her own otherworldly heritage if she wants to survive. Enduring endless hardships with aid from her soulmate, Aki bravely battles the forces attempting to tear them apart. But being fated to save the world and actually doing it are two very different things. Now that is, as I mentioned, by author Nadine Abrahams. Now a little bit about Nadine very quickly, because our goal moving forward in 2024 is to really highlight the fact that we are only doing human-based art in this ever increasing digital world. So Nadine has been an avid reader and writer since her early childhood, from publishing poems to creating her first novel at 13, The Primal Heartbeat, of course that being the same title, same work, and publishing it in her early adulthood. The Primal Heartbeat has since been edited, of course, and updated. Nadine is an avid gamer and role player, as well as creator of fiction and fantasy novels. She also loves archery and nature. After dealing with adversity and overcoming it, Nadine writes books that show even powerful characters are inherently flawed, that these weaknesses can often become our strengths as long as we remain true to ourselves. Nadine's writing reflects on the dark side of humanity as well as the good side, and how, even though we think we are worthless, we can change our destiny, just as her memorable characters do. And that you'll find under our fantasy. And sticking with the fantasy, I thought I'd spotlight a trilogy, because you mentioned you love a good series, and if you're still enjoying summer holidays, or looking for that perfect excuse to get lost in some stories while you're at the beach or the holiday home, or just in your beanbag in your lounge, I thought I would spotlight the Griffin Song Trilogy, and this is by author J. Victoria Michael. The first, volume 1, is called Songbird. A 20th century woman is lost in a fantasy world with nothing but the clothes on her back and her innate humanity. This is the story of her compelling need to redefine herself. When Irenia O'Neill suffers a panic attack and falls into the realm of Dar Orion, a world with a failed mage gate system, she finds herself unable to return home to her infant son. She is trapped in a nightmare that tests her sanity. Confronted with evidence that she possesses a gift of power, Irenia attempts to control her fledgling talent through music. This could be her ticket home. But Irenia becomes mired in the civil unrest that has befallen Dar Orion. Sickened by the bloodshed and fearful for her own safety, Irenia is desperate to find her way home. And that is Songbird, part 1 of the Griffin Song Trilogy, found, of course, as I mentioned, under our fantasy. Part 2 is called Griffin Singer. So the dying seer's words spell doom for Arenya. If she stays in Dar Orien to save their way of life, she might never see her infant son again. Hopelessly lost in the desert of Midrash, Arenya faces the legendary Griffin and, without fanfare, a new seer is silently declared. An act of revenge delivers Arenya the knowledge she needs, but her return to Melbourne is tragically far from anything she had imagined. So that was part 2, called Griffin Singer, and straight to part 3, this one is titled Fleetwalker. Arenya O'Neill may be able to summon light from the stars, but is it enough to light the way through her darkest moment yet? Her son Mikey is the realm's new mage gate. Once again, the people of Dar Orien rejoice, ignoring the danger in relying on one source of power. Lose him, and they lose everything. Having found a new home and the love of an arch-prince, Arenya is beginning to accept her powerful gifts. But in the world of Dar Orien, her challenges are far from complete. She has come a long way from the terrified young woman who stumbled into Dar Orien with a shopping trolley. Can she now convince those in control that her way of accessing power is not a danger, but a pathway to new possibilities? The words of the dying seer Fees burn in her mouth as she risks her life in her adopted world. The traitor Raiden is still plotting, and Arenya fears that he plans to take down Alari and claim the realm for himself. Until he's found and stopped, no one she loves is safe. As a mage-voiced seer, Arenya's vision will make the people of Dar Orien question all their beliefs. If they refuse to adapt, the realm can never be secure. And how long can she ignore the ache that Mikey still believes he is her brother? Can Arenya help to save her home, Dar Orien, and all whom she loves once and for all? Find out in the epic conclusion to the Griffin Song trilogy. So very cool, and that again is by J. Victoria Michael, and a little bit about that author. Judith Michael writes under the name of, no prizes for guessing, J. Victoria Michael. Now, a storyteller fascinated with other dimensions, time travel and unexpected remarkable talents, long novels with speculative elements are her favourites. Stories that take her to strange places and keep her turning the pages late at night. Judith has passion for classical music and beautiful movement, from ballet to belly dancing. As a child, she made up stories told in dance, wearing out the toes of her shoes to the vexation of her parents. Later, she discovered the joy of storytelling in words. Now, I guess saving herself a little bit of cash when it came to shoes. Music is her constant muse, and proud to be both a New Zealand and Australian writer, she lives in Melbourne with her Aussie cat. Influenced by both countries and time spent living among the flamenco gypsies of Andalusia, as well as communing with medieval spirits in France, her worlds have emotive and rich landscapes to explore. Oh, I do love a good flamenco. And so those you will find in the fantasy. So a little bit of
That's a great series.
Yeah. A little bit of a glimpse of some really cool titles to have a look. So go check out the Australian Book Lovers website. Check out all the new listings. They're more growing every week. I've got a whole bunch more that I'll be spotlighting episode 102. But that is it for the little Reader's Cafe for episode 101. Now, of course, it's time for what we're all here for. The whole reason the podcast exists, and that is for the interviews with our absolutely super, I don't want to say fantastic, I can't say fabulous, I'm going to say monumentally, exquisitely divine and greater than can ever be imagined, the authors and interviews that we get to enjoy. Today, no more so. As I mentioned earlier, we are talking with Ned and Shane Heaton about their book, Say No to Plastic. So I had the very astounding pleasure of sitting down and chatting with them. So,
time to chat, time to listen.
Yes, and Veronica, you were going to be bringing Thesaurus in soon, but what besides, without further ado, can we use?
Besides, without further ado, we can say, let's go to the interview.
There we go. A non-fiction approach to wonder.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, my next guests are a father and son duo who have made it their passion to tackle one of the world's most formidable issues, bringing real-life superpowers and forward thinking to the quest of reducing the amount of plastic entering our stunning oceans. Now, charging ahead with more power than a locomotive, fighting the good fight with more whacks and bams than Batman and Robin, and unstoppable in their quest to unite all of us in being the change that we want to see. Ned and Shane Heaton, welcome to the Australian Book Lovers Podcast.
G'day, that was a very flattering intro. Thanks for that.
No problems at all. I wish I could put the bams and the whacks with the Technicolor comic book visualizations, but of course we are audio-based. But nonetheless, it is an absolute pleasure to chat with you both. And I just want to jump right in and say, look, you know, I would start this podcast by saying, hey, it's very exciting times for you both, especially with the release of Say No to Plastic and the fact that your book, Say No to Plastic, has been shortlisted for the 2023 Wilderness Society Awards. I would say that, except a brief look into the journey that has led you both up to this point shows very much that the last couple of years have been nothing but excitement. So it'd be wrong for me to say right now is the only exciting part. So, at the risk of asking a question you've probably already answered a million times, and hopefully this is the only question asked that you've answered a million times, can you both perhaps let our listeners know a little bit about yourselves and the astounding journey that has culminated in such a wonderful book and such a wonderful mission and such a wonderful tribe?
So I started my business, The Turtle Tribe, 5 years ago now. So it was when I was 11. And I'm on a mission to help people reduce their plastic wastes through what I see is a really simple change with switching over from plastic toothbrushes to bamboo toothbrushes. And the book is an integral part of my mission, helping educate the younger generation about this big, scary issue. And it is a very serious, threat to humanity. It's a very scary issue. So it's important, the kids learn about it. And then it's important for them to know that their voice matters and that they can, create change.
The book is really coming full circle for us because the whole journey started on the beach at Moreton Island, Mulgumpin, with us going on family holidays. Ned's pretty much camped on the ocean beach of Moreton Island every year of his life. We've always gone on our family camping holidays over there and walked along the ocean beach, and you see plastic washed up on the beach, and we could never just leave it lie. We'd always collect plastic. In fact, we ended up spending a couple of days of most of our holidays just collecting ocean plastics.
Yeah.
So Ned grew up seeing this issue firsthand, and so now the book is kind of a tribute to that and to that environment and bringing attention to that issue that has been part of Ned's whole life, really.
And you said it's come full circle, and it perhaps part of it was sort of born from those family holidays and seeing the direct impact. How much has it changed from when you first started camping there? Did you notice that it was the plastic issue, even just from your little observation, obviously from where you were at that time on a regular basis? Did you notice that it was becoming increasingly bad, or was it just something that was a constant, or did it sort of reach a point where it just became ridiculous? One year you said, this is crazy, there's just too much here.
Yeah, well, I have observed it increasing, every year. It at least stays the same or increases. And that when there's, particular, natural weather events, there'll be floods, there'll be a huge amount of plastic there. But I've learned that, this plastic wash up on the beach where I go in Moreton Island, Mulgumpin, it's not just the plastic pollution isn't just on my beach. It's on every beach in the world.
Yeah, and we'd clean up one day a stretch of beach,
and then the next tide there'd just be
there'd be more there again,
more plastic there. Yeah.
And we'd do beach cleans with some friends of ours that run a charity called Ocean Crusaders. They do beach cleans around all of Australia, actually, and Tomo, the founder, said to Ned one day when we were cleaning a beach with him, he said, hey, you know that we could do this every year of our lives back at this same beach and it would just keep coming back. And that's where the penny really dropped for Ned, that we have to actually
reduce the amount of plastic.
Reduce the waste in the first place. So tell him that story about the bath, Ned.
Yeah, so if your bath is overflowing, would you reach for a mop or turn off the tap? So
I'd definitely be turning off the tap, and I've actually done that before too. That's another story.
Yeah, so there are people doing great work in cleaning up beaches and, you know, trying to pull the rubbish out of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, you know, but you've got to turn off the plastic tap. It's just going to keep coming. So,
and I see, you know, switching over to bamboo toothbrushes as a really great, easy way to start. Turning off the plastic tap, because it's a simple change that everyone can do. And it's it's super convenient.
I think that's one of the most impressive, but you know, the most magical and coolest thing. One of the coolest things about, you know, the tribe, your mission, and how you're attempting to change that psychology, change the behaviour, and change the mechanics of the machine, that massive machine, because the idea to begin that process is it's so simple, isn't it? Change your toothbrush. Start with the smallest thing, and I think that's such a beautiful way to do it, because it's not asking a lot of people. It's not, you know, putting people in a position where they have to think or ponder or make these drastic changes. It's such a simple thing. And reading about, you know, all the stuff you've already done, Ned, and yourself, Shane, and, you know, taking it from an idea and getting to the point now where, you know, you're just a massive, a threat to disrupting the industry. It had me thinking, so when I was your age and a bit younger, Ned, growing up, my concerns back then were, you know, in all honesty, were horror books and Commodore 64 games. So, and I think UFOs as well, and the Bermuda Triangle, which for some reason is not scary anymore. But because there was a difference in communication back then, so we only had a couple of TV channels, and so I can't remember, you know, the conservation of our you know, nature being that much of the forefront of much discussions. But I am really curious. We have got whole new levels of communication. We've got the internet. We've got, you know, SMS texting. There's no reason not to be aware of important situations, and there's no reason to not be sharing a communication. In the schoolyards today, Ned, is it the talk about, you know, the environment? Is that an easy conversation to have? Is that something that is now at sort of in the mind of everybody?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we as the younger generation, you know, we have the most at stake in the future of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, it's absolutely something that's on the forefront of the minds of the youth.
But schools are doing a good job there too. Like they'll run like plastic-free lunchbox days, you know, and are educating the kids about this kind of issue. And that's been something good for the book, is it's been able to be a resource for teachers and librarians to raise the issue with their pupils. And we've had great feedback from teachers and librarians. They've loved it. And actually, we got some professional teachers' notes done for the book by Nora Colvin from ReadyLearn, who generously did that for Ned for free because she loved the project so much. But it's given us a set of professional teachers' notes that are a great resource for us to offer to schools for them to engage the kids on the issue.
Well, I can definitely see how the book will be engaging on its own. The artwork's astounding, and of course the artwork was by illustrator Tamsin Barber. The artwork is just beautiful. It really does capture that breezy ocean summer afternoon feel in a cool kind of way. Because you can kind of, I've seen a lot of artwork that tries to capture the beach but doesn't quite, it misses the mark somehow. But this one, I think it's just done beautifully. But also the rhythm, the rhyme, the poetry, and it was just written beautifully. And I do love the fact that you predicted the future there with the automatic digital translator on the beak, because I think essentially with AI they're about to come out.
Well, it'd be great if they could do that for animals, wouldn't it?
Oh, well, some animals. Some animals. I think I'll be keeping my cat Spots switched off if we get one.
Well, but that was the premise of the book, is these creatures we could see on the beach surrounded by this plastic pollution. What would they say if we could understand them? You know, what would they say to us? And what they'd say is, can you please stop doing this?
I did read at the start that from the illustrator that the book was dedicated to a couple of dolphins. Do you know the story behind that? Mystique and I can't remember the other name of the dolphin now.
That was from Tamsin, Mystique and Shadow. Tamsin Barber, our illustrator, beautiful lady. She's on the board of Dolphin Research Australia. She does research, marine research, and thank you for your kind words about the beautiful way she's captured the beach and the marine environment, and that really shows just how connected she is with the ocean. And she was absolutely the right person to illustrate this. You can really feel and sense her affinity for the marine environment in her illustrations. So yeah, she did a great job. And she came to us as a customer of Ned's.
It's a funny story, yeah.
Yeah, she was a customer of Ned's, had bought his bamboo toothbrushes, and we mentioned to our tribe that we've written this children's book and we're getting it published and we're in the process of getting an illustrator. And she piped up and said, "Hey, I can illustrate it for you for free if you like."
Yeah.
And we didn't know what her illustrations were like or what she could do. She'd never done a children's book before.
Oh, wow.
So this is you can see how fantastic her illustrations are. It's her first children's book, Darren, isn't it?
That is pretty crazy.
Yeah. And we didn't let her do it for free. We wanted her to be rewarded for all the work that she'd put in. But yeah, it started us on a conversation because, of course, the publisher usually finds the illustrator for you. And we did explore that route, but then we started talking to Tamsin and seeing the work that she could do, and it was just a no-brainer. Yeah. So we brought our own illustrator onto the project.
Yeah, it's turned out fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, while we're drilling down a little bit into the book, I'm really curious. At what point did the book, I guess, the idea come to sort of pop up, and when did the action start? Because your mission's been there for quite a few years. Was the book always going to be a feature, or was it something that evolved through the concept of writing a book? And how did you sort of settle down onto that specific way of storytelling that you wanted to incorporate to get your message across?
That's an excellent question.
It really started on the beach. We'd go for morning walks at sunrise on the ocean beach, and you're surrounded by these creatures. The pied oyster catchers are peppered along the beach, always in lifelong mating pairs, so there's always two. And the crab, there's a crab character in the book.
There is indeed, yes.
And and he's not happy.
I was going to say, he's a little bit grumpy.
He's not happy. So, and that came out of seeing crab holes on the beach.
Yeah, so with the crab hole, there'll be like a big pile of sand that they've excavated to obviously create that hole. And walking along the beach, you'd find like pieces of plastic in their the debris field of sand that they've dug out. And I've come to learn that there's actually 26 times more plastic under the sand than what's on top of it. So yeah, that's where Krabby came from.
Yeah, that's a terrifying statistic, isn't it, or number?
Yeah. So there we are walking along the beach, and we start sort of, making this rhyme about Heidi the Piety.
Roy the Boy.
Yeah. And it just started coming together. I think we got back to the campsite and had the book written pretty much in, within half an hour. The book was written.
There you go. Whose idea was it to use the poetic sort of style of verse? Or was it something you both came up?
So the book might have been written in 30 minutes, but there's been a lot for a long time. A lot of polishing, but it was a long time coming.
The concept comes quick, doesn't it? It's the execution and the project. Yeah, that comes with a few more teething problems than...
Yeah, the publishing and the illustration and I think that was at least a year and a half, maybe.
Yeah, wow.
Maybe two. Yeah. From that initial walk on the beach to actually having a book in your hand had to be more than 2 years.
The inspiration for the rhyming prose, it's actually from Julie Donaldson's books and like The Gruffalo, and those are books that I really enjoyed reading when I was younger. And Fran in the book, she was actually a real person, and I would read those books with her, and that was a very nice memory that I have.
Ah, there we go. Because of course there is a dedication to Fran at the start, isn't there?
Yeah, Fran was our late neighbour, and she was still very passionate about the environment.
In her 90s.
In her 90s, and because she'd seen the environmental decline over a lifetime, and she was a wonderful person.
She was a really strong advocate for reading as well.
And I'd read children's books with her, and
she would do the school reading program at Ned's school, and in her 90s, helping prep and grade 1 and 2 and 3 kids who were struggling with reading. And she was our neighbour. Ned would never get to read with her at school because he was a good reader. But he would take books over to her house after school and read to her then, because he couldn't do it at school.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a beautiful way to celebrate, her the magic that she brought to everyone, and now she holds a beautiful magical part of the book.
Yeah, so she's immortalised in the book. And funnily enough, her husband's name was Roy. So the book is about Fran and Roy, and they were a big part of Ned's childhood for a long time. So
beautiful. And I have seen an image or two, Ned, of yourself holding or reading the book to the young ones. Yep. When it comes to, because look, we were chatting a little bit before we hit the red record button, and we both share, obviously all three of us share a love of the ocean, and we all three of us are damn lucky to have that unique freedom and ability to live right by the water, and it is something special, and every day I'm here I'm always reminding myself of how special it is, because there's so many of us that don't live near the ocean, that maybe only get to the beach once in a very, very blue moon, maybe 2 days in the summer, or we might only get to go on a hike through the beautiful hills or through a park once in a blue moon. For a lot of us, it's the hustle and bustle of the city, especially in the big cities and especially in countries around the world where it's very much metropolis style living. When you're getting this book out to the kids, do you find yourself, how easy do you think it is for yourself, Ned, and for yourself, Shane, to inspire that desire to protect the environment with kids and people that maybe don't have that instant connection with nature, that for them it's still not quite a reality as much as it is for someone like yourselves who have that joy and magic opportunity to sort of be on that beach every year camping, or be on the beach every couple of days? Do you find yourself, is there a difference when people that, for example, city kids are reading it, or do you think it will touch everybody the same way because of how beautiful it's been written and illustrated?
I think that everyone's passionate about the environment, and indeed why we're called the Turtle Tribe is because everyone loves turtles, right? Everyone loves turtles.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we haven't really experienced what you were talking about. People have really engaged with it. And Tams has done an excellent job with the illustrations, and that's a really important part of engaging the younger audience.
Yeah, I think kids today realise the problem of pollution and plastic pollution. So
that's what the book aims to do. That's the intention of the book.
So if they usually go, I don't think there'd be many Aussie kids that haven't been to the beach or have a love for it. I think there's some.
I hope we all have a love for it. Absolutely. How could you not?
So they may not have seen large amounts of plastic. If you only go to manicured beaches like Surfers Paradise, you don't necessarily know that there's a tractor going up and down every night picking up all the plastic from the beach. But if you go, as we have, to wilderness type isolated beaches, then you really see large amounts of plastic that accumulate over time. Sea Shepherd Marine Debris Campaign's been doing some beach cleans up in North Queensland and northern shores of Australia lately. And these are really isolated wild beaches, and the amounts of plastic are just horrendous.
Yeah, it's a strange thing, isn't it? Because I think for many of us, and myself included, I'm not overly familiar with the global tide system. You know, these sort of tidal highways where you're right, we can have the most pristine beaches in the world, which we do, of course, and some of the most isolated, but they're not immune to those, flowing highways of the sea that collect all the rubbish that we are throwing in there, and eventually can deposit it upon those, stunning beaches. And so it's not just a case of having people in that area littering, it's the fact that the globe is littering, and that rubbish will land on our doorstep.
Yeah. By 2050, scientists predict at the current rate of growth there'll be more plastic by weight in the ocean than fish.
I don't even know how anyone could really, one, process that, two, be comfortable with it, and three, sleep again knowing that.
Yeah.
To be honest, that is terrifying.
It's terrifying, but there's no practicality in just being afraid. We've got to do something about it.
Absolutely. That's right. And that's a big point too that you just raised, Ned, and I think that's something that you've captured so well with the book, and that is, it's not striking fear, it's not bringing a sense of doom and gloom, it's not talking about what will happen if we don't do anything. It's this beautiful sort of peek into, like you mentioned, Shane, it's a conversation with the animals in a roundabout way, and just there's almost like a bonding, an invitation to come together and be that change and make those steps to move forward. So I love that the book is all about positivity and inviting the reader to pop on in and be a part of the change. And I think that's such a much better way to approach that. Look, obviously there are statistics out there that are fearful, and the numbers can be quite shocking, but in this sense, this book is a really positive invitation, and I think it's beautifully done.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
Let's talk about some fun stuff, though. Besides, saving the plastic from the oceans is definitely a big thing. I'm sure that it's not always fun and games when you have to look into the effects of it. But as far as a little bit of fun stuff, from what I can gather, you've both had so many amazing opportunities to get your voices out to the world and to the people of Australia through so many different avenues. So you've had, been on different television stations, you've been on different radio stations, Discovery Channel. I'm just curious for both of you. What would you say has been one of the more fun experiences you've had across this sort of multimedia journey, or perhaps what was the most surprising one that either of you have had?
Well, something that I've really enjoyed, one of the most fun experiences for me with Turtle Tribe, and particularly with the book, has been going back to my old primary school for the launch of the book, and that was where I got to read it to all the kids there.
Oh, that's cool.
The photo you've seen, and that was awesome to revisit my old school, and that was a great fun experience.
Well, I have no doubt it's fun. It must have been a pretty special moment for you too, Ned, to see that direct feedback from the kids as you're reading the story, and just to see them getting engaged with this beautiful work that you've helped create.
It was a beautiful day. Ned could truthfully say, hey, like 10 years ago, I was sitting where you are right now. And, this is what you can do if you're passionate about something. You can make a difference in the world. You can be the change. So, it was beautiful that day.
And what about yourself, Shane? What's the most exciting or most interesting experience you've had so far, you think?
Oh, look, there's too many to count. It's been fantastic to meet and work with like-minded people in the ocean conservation space, and meeting marine scientists who've worked on this issue for decades. And you can hear the relief in their voice when they see and hear someone like Ned at his age raising the issue and advocating for change, because they've been, as scientists, that their job is often just documenting this problem. And so that's been really rewarding to be able to give their work a voice and bring it to people's attention. From the voice of a child, from Ned, and politicians have found it hard to ignore him. He's been in the boardrooms of some of the biggest companies in the country and in the offices of environment ministers, and they can't say no to a kid who has such a passionate message. So that's been really great.
You bring up a point that I was going to ask about, because in the bio it does say that you were still waiting to hear back from the Environment Minister, so I'm guessing maybe that's changed, maybe it hasn't. But, it's funny because people are usually intimidated by politicians and, corporate, positions of power. And yet I've got the feeling that the situation might be reversed here, Ned. I think maybe politicians and corporate bigwigs might be a little bit intimidated by you and your passion and your father's passion.
Yeah, well, I mean, if a kid can see, plastic pollution is a big issue and we've got to do something about it, then, it might be intimidating, yeah.
I mean, it's not rocket science, an 11-year-old can see that this is a huge problem, so... Yeah,
well, you say it's not rocket science, and in a way it's not, but it's all about the approach, which is what you're doing so marvellously. Because I know down here in SA, I think we were one of the first to go to the, stopping the plastic bags that, your major...
Yeah, and bottles.
Woolworths, for example. I've always recycled bottles, yeah, but, the irony was, okay, rocket science, it's not rocket science. You want to take plastic bags away, you give people an alternative. Well, for the longest time, the only difference was the plastic bags would be there, but you just have to pay for them now. And of course, so nothing changed except they were making more money, because if you're stopping to get shopping on the way home, what have you got to put it in? Sure, you could buy a bag, but it took a while because you're not walking around with that bag all the time. Finally now they've got paper bags, which is like, well, welcome back to, I guess, they must have had them back in the 70s. I don't know. I didn't shop in the 70s. But, all good things must come around in circles. But, yeah, as a consumer, I scratch my head. And I know that in one of your discussions I think, on your website, you talk about how it is a simple thing. We just got to, reduce the amount of plastic we use and make small changes. And yet we're still seeing, for example, fruit and veg packed in plastic in the supermarket. So you say it's not rocket science, but then... What do you think that barrier is? What do you think is so difficult to make those changes, which on paper seems so easy?
Yeah, well, look, plastic is an amazingly versatile resource, and it has so many applications. But the problem comes when it's used in single-use or throwaway applications, because it's not designed to be thrown away. It's designed to last for hundreds of years. And but look, I understand that there's not all the ways to reduce and cut down on plastic are easy, and some of them like bringing your reusable shopping bags, they do require conscious thought and effort
and changing habits
and changing habits.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the beauty of the bamboo toothbrush, because it can serve as a reminder twice a day, every day, because everyone uses a toothbrush, right? So
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah. So it can serve as a reminder to reduce your plastic waste in these other ways throughout your day.
If you use a non-plastic one.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing you're both would be two of the most, I should say, renowned experts on bamboo now.
No. Bamboo is an incredible resource in itself. It's the ultimate renewable resource. The bamboo that Ned's toothbrushes are made from is called Moso bamboo, and it's that famous one that grows up to 1 meter a day.
And it's also,
I didn't realize there's a bamboo that grew that fast.
Yeah. It's incredible, and it's also panda friendly, so pandas don't eat it.
Yeah.
So it's the ultimate renewable.
It doesn't need any chemicals to grow. It's in enormous forests in China and elsewhere in Asia. So, it's a fantastic resource.
Wow, that makes it... Now, to bring things all back to literature, I'm starting to think of like the magic bean. It's something that grows that fast. I know that when I was worked a little bit over in China, and you'd go through, some of the rural areas and even some of the city fringe areas, all the scaffolding, a lot of it was bamboo.
Yeah.
And you'd just see trucks and cars and all sorts of vehicles just loaded with these, those big cylindrical bamboo. But growing up to a metre a day, that is fascinating. I had no idea.
Yeah, it's an incredible resource. Yeah.
And what about for Turtle Tribe and the mission? Are you going to sit tight for the moment with toothbrushes, or have you got your corporate eyes, or should I say corporate disruption eyes, on another product? Is there different consumables that are in your target zone, or at the moment are you focused on the toothbrush?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do sell other plastic-free products on my website, but toothbrushes are the go for now. And my parents and mentors have advised me to just pick one thing and focus on that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm doing with toothbrushes. If everyone just focus on one thing and fix one thing in the world, then
Everything you get
fixed. So this is what I'm going to fix.
There's some wise words there, and I wish I could heed that sort of wisdom at your age or at my age. I think just focusing at one task and getting that right, I think is a beautiful proposition to try and aim for.
For anyone who cares about the environment, it's worrying times, isn't it? It's very easy to get overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the problems of climate change and plastic pollution and other environmental and social issues in the world. And so that's why we've encouraged Ned, don't feel as though you're responsible for fixing everything. Even in the plastics space, people are often coming to Ned and saying, why don't you do this and why don't you do that, and how about this, and we always make sure that we protect Ned from that overwhelm of feeling that the weight of the entire problem on his shoulders. There are lots of people working in this space, and we've encouraged him to fix this one thing.
That's a really good point. Yeah, I probably not a problem I would have thought of or anticipated, that you're probably getting inundated with suggestions and ideas and different ways to travel forward. Yeah, it'd have to be a case of at some point hitting the volume down on all that white noise coming in.
Yeah, it's easy for any of us, adults included, but especially young people today, to feel overwhelmed with the problems in the world. But nothing gives hope like action.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And speaking of hope and speaking of action, obviously you're a bit of a superpower duo together, Shane and Ned. So Shane, I'm just curious, my brief chat with you so far, I suspect to know the answer, but I'll ask anyway. Now, was this drive for conservation and wildlife protection, was that something that you've always been passionate about, and was that a sphere you always wanted to sort of work in? Or was it Ned's drive to get rid of plastic toothbrushes and embark on that journey? Was that a kind of catalyst for you? Because I do understand it got to the point where you sold an existing business to work purely with Ned on this project and this business moving forward. Was there a catalyst moment there, or was it a case of you were always aiming for that, and it was a beautiful synchronicity and life, the universe, and all the wonders that come with it that brought you together to be able to embark on the journey together?
Yeah, that's a good question, and the answer is self-evident when you hear it, and that's that this has been a lifetime coming.
I thought as much.
Our family has always been very passionate about the environment. My wife and I have had an organic farm for the best part of 20 years, where we were very much invested in, observing nature's rhythms and working with nature instead of against it. And so those family holidays, picking up plastic on the beach, I'll give credit where it's due. My wife would not drive past a plastic bag without stopping.
Yeah, so we'd keep stopping the car every
10 minutes.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
not awesome that you're always stopping, but awesome that it's getting picked up.
It'd take us an hour to go anywhere because she would stop at every single bag. She would not let us drive past a bag. And we'd be like, come on, let's just get where we're going. And she would not have it. So it's really been a family affair for a long time.
Yeah.
This is just the manifestation of that that environmental passion over a lifetime.
May I ask for each of you what your special relationship is with the ocean? Like, what does the ocean mean to you? Is it a safe place? Is it a place of wonder? Is it a place to be quiet and think? Is it a place to engage in action and animals? What does it mean to each of you? What does she mean to each of you, to talk about Mother Nature?
The ocean's always been special to me. I've always enjoyed, being at the beach and being around the beach and always built sandcastles when I was smaller.
We thought Ned was going to be an engineer when he was 5 because he wouldn't stop building sandcastles.
Aha. Well, there's still, by the looks of things, there's nothing stopping him being an engineer either. That might just be one little component of a next plan coming down the future. Be like, oh, Dad, I've just got to quickly do an engineering degree because I've got this idea, and it's going to be cheaper to just be our own engineer. But nonetheless.
But, the ocean is all of those things, isn't it? And people often underestimate just how important the ocean is for all life on this planet.
Oh, yeah. The oxygen, contrary to popular belief, it's not all the trees that produce most of the oxygen we breathe. It's actually the ocean. And the ocean, particularly plankton, which produce over 60% of the oxygen we breathe, may be at risk from plastic pollution. So it is absolutely a serious, existential threat to humanity. Plastic pollution.
Yeah. So the ocean's fantastic for recreation, but I think quite a large percent of the world's population relies on protein from the ocean. We use it for transport. It's just such an integral part of life on this planet. And there's a lovely quote I've heard that our planet should actually be called Ocean instead of Earth.
I haven't heard that, but that would make total sense, wouldn't it? We are a water planet.
2/3 of the surface is ocean, not Earth. So you could call the planet Ocean.
Yeah, that would make much more sense. And that'd be an interesting experiment, wouldn't it? To see, over a 10-year period, if we did turn the word Earth into ocean, how our concept of the world we live in and the relationship we have, would it change just by changing the name? Because of the different emotions that word can evoke. Maybe, who knows? Maybe that's part of the tribe mission, but I'm not going to be one of those people to come in with ideas for you both. But what I will say is, one thing that I love about the ocean is, look, there are many positions you can put yourself in the world, rock climbers, mountain climbers, all sorts. But at least for me, being in the ocean is such a humble reminder of how much power Mother Nature can have and how insignificant in one instance we can be, but then also with issues such as the plastics, how significant we are as a race. Because, throw anybody in the water and let that tide rip you out a bit, or the big waves come through, and you'd be humbled very quick. And, you get that instant respect for the power of Mother Nature. But then when we all come together, we can do good or bad. And, sometimes we're seeing that as a race, we can do things that aren't so good. So all the inspiration's there in the water for us to, take that magic and strive forward. So, which is what, I'm very proud to say I'm having a chat with you both, because you're doing a hell of a lot more about all these issues than I am currently. And so, I'm very humbled, just like I am in the water, to talk with you both. Now, bringing it all back and bringing it back to the book, Say No to Plastic. I'm just wondering, when we're talking about how important all these issues are and the toothbrush and getting the message out, all these things, I gather that already you were both forced to be reckoned with when it came to raising all this awareness about the protection of the ocean. But since the release of the book, Say No to Plastic, I'm just wondering if there have been any new opportunities that have been unlocked through the release of the book, and if so, what kind of cool opportunities and new ways forward has the book brought for you both?
The book provides opportunities to engage with schools and with the teacher's notes that Dad was talking about. It's been able to fit into the Australian curriculum And yeah, been able to go into schools and educate, the younger generation about this issue, which is, a key part of the mission.
Of creating the tribe.
Yeah. And the book is accompanied by a school fundraising program. So the kids are able to learn about the issue of plastic pollution, and then they're able to go out and educate their community as well and get everyone changed over to bamboo toothbrushes. So they're able to learn, earn, and
create change.
Yeah.
Be the change they want to see, be the change they want to be. That's amazing.
So the Turtle Tribe runs a school fundraising program where, just like a chocolate fundraiser, where instead of the kids selling plastic wrapped chocolate, they sell bamboo chocolate to their friends and family and community and raise funds for their school. That's been something that we've dovetailed with the book.
Beautiful. Well, I guess this is a good opportunity then for me to ask you to perhaps reveal to our listeners, how does someone get involved with the Turtle Tribe? And what, obviously you've got a lot of partnerships there. There's a lot of support. So what can an individual do? What can a business do? What can a social group do? What can a bunch of surfies do? What sort of options are available, or what sort of people are you looking for to jump on, and what can they find, and how can they be involved in being a part of the mission?
So I'm on a mission to disrupt the plastic toothbrush market, and I want it to be as easy as possible, people to switch from plastic to bamboo. So I'm actually giving away 1 million free bamboo toothbrushes on my website to help.
Holy moly.
That's a lot. You make the switch away from plastics, because I don't want price to be a barrier, and I really just want people to give it a try.
So that's something individuals can do is try one.
Yeah, just I invite your listeners to please just try a bamboo toothbrush, and you'll see that it works exactly the same as your plastic one, but then it biodegrades when you finish with it, and it's way better for the environment.
Well, as someone who camps out a lot in the bush, so that's perfect, because not only will I have a toothbrush, but if I get stuck for a little bit of kindling, so it's a very practical and Aussie brush.
Yeah.
So that's something that any individual can do, and the more the better. But businesses have been very supportive of Ned. He's done a number of intergenerational partnerships with the aged care sector, and a lot of aged care providers around the country have changed over from giving their residents plastic toothbrushes 4 times a year over to bamboo.
Yep.
So
that's incredible.
Work with companies that want to play their part in making small changes where they can. And there's lots of community groups that sell the book. I've bought a case of the books and are selling them through their merchandise stalls or through their community group.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So there's lots of ways people can be involved.
Yeah, another way is to just follow us on Instagram and check that out. Check out our socials and help us build the tribe in Turtle Tribe
and spread the message.
Yeah.
I'm assuming then, Ned, you must be a bit of a rock star at school.
Maybe.
Maybe. I think it has to be definite. But not only a rock star, no doubt there's you're pretty inspirational to a lot of people too. You're achieving so much, and with your dad, that's fantastic. But yes, no doubt it must be fun to be popular, but for the really good reasons. Moving forward though, as the Turtle Tribe and with the book, you mentioned how it is part of the school curriculum now, which is just amazing. That's awesome. What about when it comes to, in the near future, if you're looking at doing future works, is it the same age group that you're going to be looking at, or have you considered, or are you both looking into expanding to different age groups with future books, or where are you at on your literature journey? Is this the first of many, or are you happy to just really focus on this book right now and see as far as it can reach?
Well, Say No to Plastic is a great tool for the Turtle Tribe, and I don't know if it's certainly something to consider, is writing other books, and perhaps for different age demographics. But I know that Dad is, an excellent writer, and he's got some other books that he has ideas for and scripts for, but they're not necessarily related to plastic pollution of the Turtle Tribe. But that's really what St. Plastic is all about.
Yeah, I've got some other children's books and adult books in the top drawer.
Uh-huh.
This was the first off the rank in terms of, it was low-hanging fruit for us in terms of it being such a useful and integral part of the Turtle Tribe mission.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
the time and money that we've invested in creating this resource made sense. As your listeners who are authors would know, the publishing game is not an easy one to make a living in. So we've got other fish to fry right now other than thinking about the next book. But this one has certainly been a successful part of what we're already doing.
Yeah, no, I think it's been, what an amazing approach. You have to think outside the square, don't you? You need to approach things from a number of different angles, a myriad of different, planned strategies, I guess you could say, to succeed in anything we want to do in life. I'm curious though, because it's not like anyone can just wake up tomorrow and decide that they're going to try and disrupt one of the biggest businesses on the planet, and at the same time, educate, and at the same time protect the environment. That's a whole lot to be done. I'm just curious for both of you, what were some of the challenges you faced when it came to not so much sourcing, creating and manufacturing the bamboo products, but getting them out there? Did you find that it was just a lot of conversations needed, a lot of convincing, a lot of education, or was it more just a matter of managing to open the right door, and then once you could open that door, the message was already easy to convey? I'm just curious, what were some of the biggest challenges you've faced so far?
Yeah, well, it's a bit disappointing, but it's understandable. Lots of corporations, and big corporations particularly, are very slow moving, and it's understandable, but it's quite annoying because we need to create this change as soon as possible, because the oceans, they can't afford any more plastic from unnecessary uses. And there's another funny story about that with an awards I won back in 2019. But I feel like there's no time like the present. Well, the best time to make this change with plastics was 50 years ago. So the second best time is now, and we have had some trouble with slow moving corporations,
and corporate players who prioritize cost over the environment.
Because prioritizing costs over the environment, it's just externalizing the costs to the environment
and to future generations.
And to future generations. Yeah.
If you want the cheap alternative now, it just pushes the cost onto the environment and future generations.
Yeah, there's not a lot of discussion, but there are discussions around, I guess, if you look from that, open up the observation or the possibility that to survive and to thrive in a corporate environment, or many high-pressure corporate environments, one needs to be somewhat of a psychopathic sort of tendencies, psychotic tendencies, maybe sociopathic tendencies, and sometimes that's the only excuse I can try and come up with for some of the behaviours of, corporations or businesses that ignore, the devastation they're causing simply for the pursuit of the dollar. And that's something we could all probably remind ourselves too if we go to purchase something and, see what the company is. Are we buying from, potentially a company run by psychopaths? I don't know, but that may be a different way to look at what we purchase. But there is obviously going to be a lot of people out there that are inspired by you both, and there's going to be a lot of people out there, young and old, that are going to be inspired to the point where they're going to want to take that journey. They're going to want to find their own way forward to doing what's right, and to perhaps, adding their contribution to the protection of the society, our wilderness and our environment and all those things. So I'm just curious from yourself, Ned and Shane, were there any hints or tips or lessons learned that either of you were surprised to have discovered that you might want to share with other people, whether it be about the corporate world, whether it be about just the journey, getting the book written and published? Was there anything really surprising that you wish you knew, that you wish you knew then what you know now, and that maybe you can share with those people out there that are inspired to try and take on that same journey?
Yep. Some just general advice that I'd have, but it's perhaps for people who are looking at writing a book. There's a saying that my mentors use: build the plane as you're flying it.
Okay, that's a different one.
Don't wait till you're ready to start, because you'll never be ready.
Yeah,
and you'll never start.
Yeah. So just take action and get started, and then keep iterating, and it'll get better. But you just need to take the first steps, and get started.
You don't need to think that your first effort has to be perfect. Your 10th effort will be way better than your first effort. So it's best you get your first effort over with.
Yeah, I do like that. And I haven't heard that, build the plane while you're flying it. But I do like that a lot, actually. Because it's, you're not going to get up there by just contemplating and doing nothing.
Yeah, yep.
When it comes to the corporate world, any strategies or tips that you've discovered that you think would be a good, tool in the arsenal of someone looking to disrupt for good reasons as well?
I think the biggest contributor to Ned's success has been something that his kids' business mentors really pressed home, and that is action taking is everything.
Yeah.
You can plan and you can strategize and you can dream and you can set goals, but unless you actually take action, nothing happens. So the successes that Ned and the Turtle Tribe have had have always come from action taking, and that's been the number one thing that made a difference.
Oh, you got me asking now. That have you got an action theme song for the tribe?
That could be something we could look into. Not yet. Not yet.
Most definitely, yes. A superhero themed action song. Now, speaking of action,
and that action is, whether it's changing your toothbrush or starting to write a book or contacting your local politician, whatever it be, you need to take action. Yeah, that's what changes the world, is action.
Like I said, the action can start with something small, but it's still action, still gets its own little theme song, just changing the toothbrush. Because every time you're brushing, you've got to come up, I guess we'll come up with our own little action theme, but every time you brush with the bamboo toothbrush, you can play that little theme because you are fighting those evil corporations.
Yeah, a little change by a lot of people can have a really big impact.
100%. And I think the impact you're having has only just begun, and it's only going to get bigger and bigger, and it's going to become more positive and more positive. And I think anybody who comes to learn or has learned about both of your journey so far, I have no doubt that they will agree, as a father and son trajectory, it has only just begun. And so I'm curious, what new adventures or action adventures or ways to get the message of your mission out there, what new things have you got planned for the Turtle Tribe?
Yeah, so we've got lots of exciting things happening.
Ooh.
Oh yeah. Yep.
You heard it here first.
I love hot off the press.
One of the biggest things we've got going on is we're doing a program for supplying Woolworths, and we actually just recently went to Woolies, to the Woolworths headquarters in Sydney, to meet with the oral care buyer. Because
wow.
Yeah, because I see being in supermarkets as another key integral part of my mission, because it's disrupting the market and getting in front of the mainstream, and that's doing a rollout in some limited stores in Queensland, and then hopefully taking it nationwide across Australia.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to get done in the that kind of time frame.
and that's a stepping stone to going global.
Yeah. Because that's my ultimate goal
is to build the biggest bamboo toothbrush brand in the world, and get plastic toothbrushes banned in Australia and Queensland, Australia, and then, you know, other countries. And this Woolies is the first, well, Supermarkets in Australia's first step in doing that and achieving that.
Well, for all the jokes that are made and snide remarks made about Woolworths, that they deserve huge congratulations for taking that step to meet with you and to trial it. I think that's fantastic. It shows that, it also shows the momentum you're gaining. You're both gaining. It's just incredible that you're now looking at rolling out in pretty much, you know, one of the only two biggest, I guess, supermarket chains in Australia. I think for everybody listening in Queensland right now, your challenge has been laid down. Once those bamboo toothbrushes are available on the shelves at Woolies, there is no other toothbrush to buy. You need to buy the bamboo one so that we can get them all the way down here in South Australia in Woolworths. We can get them all the way over in WA in Woolworths and all the way down in Tassie, and yes, even Melbourne. We'll give them a break as well. As much as I'm only joking, but no, I think that's amazing. And how long did it take to sort of get the process from contacting Woolworths to getting that meeting to being in this position?
Look, I don't want to talk bad about Woolworths, but as I mentioned before, yeah, big corporations, it obviously takes time for them to move. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, well, hats off to them for though that at least that they're still doing the step forward, which is good. But what about any other super cool new adventures in store?
The school program's rolling out nicely. More and more schools are coming on board.
Oh, and we're doing got some more visits to schools planned over the next, few weeks and months.
We've got some new products. We've just launched a sonic electric toothbrush with bamboo heads.
Oh, I saw that, yes.
So the focus is always going to be toothbrushes, but we're looking at other products around that people want as well, that they can reduce their plastic footprint. And electric toothbrushes are 20% of the toothbrush market. So that was somewhere we needed to go to stop all those plastic heads going into the environment as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've my brain works in the strangest of ways, as anyone listens to the show might know. But I now have trapped in my head while we're chatting. Now, you're not going to know this song, Ned, but possibly you might, Shane. And that is the Toothbrush song by the Smurfs. You probably don't know that one either, do you? You needed to have had the Smurf record back in, I think, 79, 1980. But,
you mean
but there was
Blue Smurfs, or was there a grunge band called the Smurfs?
No, I'm talking the Little Blue Smurfs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they had a Smurf album, and it was a song about the toothbrush. So now I've got that song on my head. I'm thinking, you got to come up with a toothbrush song now.
I like the Beach Boys song. Eat a lot, sleep a lot, brush them like crazy.
Oh, okay. I haven't heard that one, or if I have, I never got the lyrics right. I don't know. But what would you like to impart to the listeners before we go tonight? What would you like to let them know? What would you like to invite them to? Obviously, your website is at www.turtletribe.com.au.
TheTurtleTribe.com.au.
TheTurtleTribe.com.au, my apologies. But yeah, what final thoughts you have for our listeners that, if this is the first time they've possibly heard for some of them, that for those listeners that maybe are looking for a book for children, or maybe they work in schools, or maybe they just want to do the right thing and grab a toothbrush, what would you each like to let our listeners know before we go?
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first, yeah.
Okay.
I'll think about mine.
Good strategy move there, Ned.
I think I'm not sure if we've mentioned that the book is for 2 to 8 year olds. So if anyone's listening to this and getting super excited about getting the book, it's important that that's the target market that it's pitched at.
It is illustrative picture book. Yeah, definitely for 2 to 8.
Yeah. Older kids than that have still enjoyed the book. But yeah, it's especially for educating the younger readers, and having bedtime stories with their parents. The last page of the book has a little subtle hint to parents to read books to their children as a bedtime story. Something we always did with Ned and his sister. So for parents out there and grandparents, it's a fantastic thing to share with the younger people in your life. And then for schools that are listening, very welcome to get in touch with us and engage in the ways that we connect with schools and support their plastic education programs for the kids. And for any corporates out there listening, if your company has some kind of healthcare role and uses disposable plastic items, then that's something that we can do is partner with organisations to help them reduce their plastic waste.
Beautiful.
So Ned, what have you come up with, mate?
I'd just like to. I think that the people listening to your podcast are awesome, and they're for authors or any budding authors out there. Listening to this podcast and learning, tips from other authors. Great place to start. And yeah, I invite the listeners to go aside and get a free bamboo toothbrush and try it out. Give it a whirl. Like, what's the worst can happen?
Exactly. Give it a whirl. What's the worst that can happen? I think we'll definitely be on more than one occasion moving forward. I think we'll be constantly reminding people that there is a beautiful toothbrushes awaiting them. And yeah, we'll do that on the podcast at all times. I think it's an excellent initiative. I think you're right on the doorsteps of, like you said, going global, which is just, amazing. And wow, taking on the big guns, I tilt my hat, but it's just so fantastic. And the congratulations on the book, congratulations on the growth, the momentum, the movement forward that you're both getting. Spectacular artwork, spectacular book release. I love the poetry, and I think it's been an absolutely amazing experience for me to talk with you both. And so, gentlemen, thank you very much for both of your time and for being part of Australian Book Lovers podcast. And we really hope to have the opportunity to catch up with you again soon to hear all about the new action adventures, the new ways that the book is changing lives and changing the environment, and maybe even hear the debut of an action theme song.
Yep. We'll look into it.
Thanks, Darren. It's been great.
Thanks, mate.
Well, thank you so much to Ned and Shane for spending some time chatting with us, and chatting with Darren, although we did chat with them early for the wilderness thing. And what a great initiative.
Of course, a huge thank you to both of the astounding gentlemen, and of course, I also want to extend my thanks for their patience in getting this episode out.
It's been a while since we chatted, for sure.
Yeah, that's that slight little bit interlude. But yes, obviously, important topic, very important opportunities for all of us moving forward when it comes to taking care of our wonderful planet, and not only that, all the more power to them in taking over the world with bamboo toothbrushes.
Yes. Yeah,
So,
most definitely.
and of course, jump on the website and subscribe if you're not a subscriber already, because we do have some copies of the book to give away. So if you have a young one who would love to read Say No to Plastic, or if you just have a love of some of beautiful art, of seaside art, this is really spectacular art. We've got, I think at least 4 or 5 copies to give away. So we'll work out something in the newsletter, can't we, Veronica, to do the giveaway?
Certainly can.
Yes.
We certainly can. Yep.
Excellent. So, what's the story for our quotes the first quotes for 2024?
Yeah, look, interesting. I thought there were a couple of quotes that are fairly famous ones, but I thought, which one is most appropriate for Ned and Shane?
I was going to say, did you break the rules like I did? Because I've got 2 as well.
There you go. All right, let me start with the first one, which is be the change you wish to see in the world. And that, of course, most people will know that is by Mahatma Gandhi, or Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, who was an Indian lawyer, anti-colonial nationalist and political ethicist. And he employed the non-violent resistance to lead the successful campaign for India's independence from British rule, and really inspired movements for civil rights and freedom across the world. So he suggested that you be the change you wish to see in the world, and I feel like Ned and Shane are definitely being the change that they wish to see in the world.
Yeah. It's a simple set of words, and yet it's so powerful,
yes.
isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, what have you got for me? What's your first one?
Yeah, obviously mine inspired by the ocean as well. And so my first one, and please don't can't culture cancel us or anything like that because of the implications of what it means. But my quote comes from Sarah Kay, and it is: "There's nothing more beautiful than the way the ocean refuses to stop kissing the shoreline, no matter how many times it's sent away."
Oh,
So I like that. And
That
no,
is-
it's not about
yeah.
consent, it's about nature. So
that is
yeah.
lovely. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I like
like
that. Yeah.
All right, my second one was really me thinking also about, I almost had this one for the 100th episode, but I thought really it's kind of the way we are moving on. And I have mentioned it before. It's by Jim Rohn, R-O-H-N, and Jim is a basically American entrepreneur, author, and motivational speaker. And he suggests that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I thought, well, Darren, you and I spent a bit of time together, and we're spending time with authors, and we're spending time doing writing and reading. So think about that. Who are the 5 people you spend the most time with?
Oh, that's a good question. I probably have about 5 people I spend most of my time with. Yeah. No, that's a lie. Obviously, I spent a lot of time with lot. I just came from pinball competitions. And
You did indeed.
All sorts. So lots of, and then I got band practice. And
Yep,
got
people
a
who
band up
like
together
the
and
music,
all this
the
sort of
horror.
stuff. Yeah. But no, but I think I do like that, and it is important. Isn't it something? There's and I'm not throwing another quote in here because I'm guessing, so it may not even be a quote. But wasn't there one that said something like, "If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong company"?
Yeah, I think that is
Something
exactly
along that
right.
lines.
Yeah.
So that,
Yeah.
but then yeah, I like that. The 5 people we spend the most time with. Is also,
Yeah, and I think
you
that's
know.
also helped thinking about like the 6 a.m. Oz writers who are, a fabulous group of people that I met on Twitter who I think we've mostly now moved to Instagram and Threads. I'm just coming back to it because I've been on a bit of a gap. But spending time with writers, like spending more time with writers, I've spent more time writing. And, becoming the average of those 5 people, these are people who are writing hard, they're supporting each other, they're practicing their craft, they're, applying for publication or competitions and doing all sorts of things like, screenplays and poetry and children's books and adult books. And I think it does bring I suspect I've been one of the lower averages. So I would say that, I've been brought up to, more a higher level because of the hard work that they do writing every day and really pursuing their craft. So yeah, thanks to the 6 a.m. Oz writers, you little treasures. There you
It's
go.
important to surround yourself with people that will either, keep you on your toes, motivate you to step outside your comfort zone, support your ideas, but then also, inspire you to come up with new ideas, and also just to be able to, 2 important things. One, to be able to have conversations about whatever strikes your heart, and 2, to be able to laugh. I think is one of the big things, and hopefully something I'll do a bit more of this year. But my second quote, to go on a slightly more serious note: "There must be something strangely sacred in salt. It is in our tears and in the sea." And that is by Khalil Gibran.
I like
Yeah,
that.
just
He
not-
wrote
yeah.
some beautiful stuff. Yeah. Don't forget, authors, if you've loved listening to what we've been chatting about, you can put your book on our website. If you're an Australian author, go to www.australianbooklovers.com/for-authors, and you can see short stories there, or your books or poetry. By all means, put bits and pieces there, and we'll probably talk more about the short stories and the audios next time. And if you're a reader and you want an Australian authored book, we have hundreds on the website, so please jump on and have a look there. And if you want to join in the subscription for book lovers and get in the chance to win currently one of the Say No to Plastic books from Nick and Shane, Ned and Shane, thanks very much. Please go to /book lovers and apply, and I'll be putting the newsletter out in the next couple of weeks, and we will be giving away those books. You can also support us with a couple of dollars. That helps us pay for postage and platforms and the software and all those kind of things. So please feel free to jump on the website and have a bit of a look. Listen to the backlist. Have a look at the Australian authors and choose carefully the books that you read. We will see you next episode, and we need a tagline now, Darren.
Well, I think we have to be deep sea divers, and we're like down the bottom and blah, 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 bubbles going everywhere. And then we find a sign, and I'm pointing, and of course, what does the sign say? So, I don't know how I'll make the underwater breathing, talking noises.
Okay.
So we'll set the ambience here. Read more Aussie books. Oh, and behind you, shark.
I hope not.
Another shark attack in South Australia too. I think we're it's getting a little bit ridiculous. I think we're way above our normal statistics. Considering I'm going for a snorkel as of time of recording in about 45 minutes at the end of the street, I won't be going as deep as I normally do until I can get over that, get the spookies out of my own brain. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being a part of the episode 101. And it goes without saying, I really hope to be in your company for episode 102, where we'll be talking with author Michael Buxton.
Indeed we shall, and welcome to the second century, as I mentioned. Hope you enjoyed our chatter and our natter and our information and the interview with Ned and Shane. And stay tuned for a book review. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.
Take care.
The Rebels of Mount Buffalo by Helen Edwards. What a clever, entertaining and educational read. It's been a while since I dipped into middle grade, and The Rebels of Mount Buffalo was the perfect return. Edwards has woven historical fact with a modern twist to deliver a delightful, soulful story about grief, hope and courage. The death of Clara's brother 2 years ago has fractured the remaining family, and all are somewhat lost in their own version of grief. A trip to the Mount Buffalo chalet is an opportunity for Clara and her family to relive old and to make new memories without Darius. Clara's research into guide Alice Manfield becomes unexpectedly real as the magic of the mountain and history take her to a time she'd only read about. This is a beautiful story of a young girl finding her way back to herself, physically and emotionally. It's sensitively and beautifully written, and so educational. The historical and geographical facts slide into the story seamlessly, and the descriptions of the raw beauty of the area make me want to go and walk in the steps of Guide Alice. This is an excellent read and a wonderful debut for Helen Edwards. Radcliffe, a novella by Madeleine d'Este. D'Este's storytelling just gets better and better. For Radcliffe, a gothic horror novella, she has us following the slightly out-of-kilter Tamsin as she sweats her way around North Melbourne in a heatwave, chasing the voice. Having lived in West Melbourne, shopped in Errol Street and haunted those streets myself, d'Este has them captured perfectly. Made me feel quite nostalgic. However, I'm glad I never met or experienced any of the supernatural horrors she threw at the cast. The women who live in Radcliffe each bring a unique weirdness to the page, each slowly revealing their unexpected secrets to Tamsin in her obsessive drive to solve the voice's riddle. Tamsin herself is superbly written as a complex mess, with her quest to save someone overwhelming her, obvious to everyone else, need to save herself. d'Este's prose is brilliant. Her succinct descriptions, pithy dialogue and tortured contemplations are compelling. In its sharp brevity and believability, we're carried through the well-crafted plot, past the plethora of red herrings, through mouth-drying horror, to the ultimate no climax. This is a clever and thoroughly enjoyable read.
magic happens.
Australian Book Lovers acknowledges First Nations peoples and recognises their continuous connection to country, community and to culture. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and honour the sharing of traditional stories passed down through generations. We're committed to a safe and inclusive welcome for authors and readers of all cultures and backgrounds, including people of LGBTQIA+ communities and their families.